All right, Councilmember Mark Squilla, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Larry and Denise. Appreciate it.
So the first thing I'd like to talk to you about, we're almost through with the budget. What do you think about this budget? What do you think the strengths are in some of the good investments?
Listen, obviously we would like, to have other parts and resources in the budget that we were trying to negotiate. But as a whole, I really believe this can move the city forward. There's been a lot of added budgetary items to include community groups and organizations. There's been a lot of money put into prevention programs and also a focus on how we deal with our public safety issues. So, this to me is setting the city up to really address the needs of the communities and making sure that, we as a city push forward our main priorities. As far as schooling, as far as pre-K, as far as our parks and recreation and the services necessary to really lead us into the next year.
And how does this process work a little bit? Because you're the whip in city council. You help shepherd the legislation along. What is your role as whip in the budget process?
Well, the budget process, it normally plays out during the hearing process. The administration puts forth a budget. We get to ask questions from each department on their spending and how the budget is going to work. And then what happens is then council members get involved to work with the council president to put in a request that are really important to those council members. So if we want to add more money for mural arts, say for more money for ACCT, animal control, these things then get flushed through the council members to the council president, that then goes and negotiates with the administration on which one of those requests get added into the budget and amended into the budget for the final passage. So as you can imagine, there's 17 different council members that have 17 different numbers of requests. And so the council president's job and the job of the leadership is to try to consolidate those measures and try to get the best bang for the buck, because it's really, you don't have enough resources to fund every request by each council member. And so after the council president gets a list of them, he negotiates with the administration. They squash the numbers and come up with what would work best. And then at the end of the day, they present it back to the full council for a vote. So not everybody gets everything they wanted, but as long as we get some of it, and sometimes we get nothing, right? So then we work with the administration and council president leadership to, maybe work in the fall for what we call a transfer ordinance to see if there's additional dollars for programs that did not get funded or departments that didn't get the full allotment that we thought was necessary to enhance the quality of the city moving forward.
So one of the common misconceptions about city council with only one session left is that they go on summer break. And then, we know that that's not true because we talk to you in the summer and other council members. What is a summer like for a city council member?
I mean, summer's very busy, especially in my district as a district council person. We still have many events throughout the district. We still have community meetings that we go to throughout the summer. And we meet with, constituents and people who have concerns in our offices. So our offices are still open, 5 days a week. And we're here, from 8 o'clock until 5. So it's just as busy. The only thing we don't do is legislation, but, we do have hearings over the summer. As you heard, we're going to have a public safety summit that's going to be generated this summer to really understand not only what the problems are, because everybody knows what the problems and concerns are, but what are we putting in place to address those problems and how are we fixing them to actually move the numbers so that public safety, in the next several years will really see a positive change. So, even though there's no council per se, it's not like everybody has their shovels and buckets and they run down the shore to build sandcastles. We're still here, and we still, are accountable to our districts and the people we represent. So it's, the summers are just as busy, and if not busier, with a lot of summer events that we go to, especially over the weekends. It's a good time to get out and really meet and greet your constituent base.
I'd like to bring in Denise Clay-Murray here on Philadelphia Homeowner.
Yes, and thank you, Larry, and thank you for joining us today, Councilmember Squilla.
Thank you, Denise. Thank you for having me again.
Well, I guess my first question for you is, one of the things that council is going to be probably taking on is the issue of SEPTA, and the fact that because of the large hole we have in I-95 right now, we need to step up our transportation game. Now, you didn't have necessarily a transportation issue in terms of mass transit in your district, but you had the Washington Avenue road restructuring that you had to deal with. How has that worked out for your constituents? And because we were hearing that there were some problems in terms of the Italian market and how trucks were able to go in and out and deliver goods and services.
Yes, I mean, obviously we made the change. There is a part of the legislation in the change is to do a study 1 year out and 2 years out to understand the impacts on the surrounding communities. And not only a study on Washington Avenue, how it impacts, say, 9th and Washington, where the Italian market is delivering, but also the ancillary streets. So the streets, maybe a Federal Street at Carpenter and Christian, to see, are we impacting those streets also, to really determine if the new design of the street is working the way it was intended. We have made several changes initially from the first design and the way it was set up to allow for additional deliveries and freight to be able to move on Washington Avenue, because it is still a commercial corridor, especially with 9th Street being one of the busiest commercial corridors. So those adjustments, not only with loading and unloading, but also light timing, has really seemed to help mitigate those concerns. But it's still a work in progress. There's still challenges with it. Hopefully once we receive the results of these studies, we could even see what the impacts are and understanding more what changes would need to be made to make it a better operational and safe for both the pedestrians, the bicyclists, the drivers, and the trucks who are delivering for the businesses. So, it's a complicated roadway, and we got to make sure that each stakeholder, their concerns are addressed as we look at what the changes have done. Did it make it safer in one way, but maybe not as safe in another? Did it make it easier to deliver and load the packages in one way and not in another? So we're looking forward to seeing the results of those studies, and then we'll adjust and tweak as we see fit.
Now, I'm sure that one of the things you're going to have to deal with this summer, because there's already been a lot of discussion about it, is the possibility of 76th Place being built off of Market Street. You have very vocal people on all sides. Some think that, if you put it there, it's basically you're destroying Chinatown. And then you have the people who are like, let's build it. I'm tired of people not building things. Let's build it. You have said publicly that unless your constituents tell you that this is what they want, you're not introducing the legislation. What are you hearing from your constituents now? And are there any meetings planned this summer to discuss this?
Well, the first thing we heard from our constituent base was that they wanted more information. Even the people opposed to it in Chinatown had said that they thought some more studies should be done, economic impact studies, environmental and health impact studies, design studies, parking, traffic studies. So we put an RFP out to do those studies. The RFPs have been returned, and studies, people have been selected to do these studies. We're still going to follow that process to see how these studies come back, to see what the impacts are. There are people opposed to it. There are people very supportive of it. People want me to go to rallies supporting it, then rallies and opposing it. And at this point, I think it would be disingenuous, because until those studies are actually out and we wouldn't be doing these studies if we were going to take one direction or the other. I think the city will then plan, once the studies are complete, Planning Commission will go out to the communities, review these studies, go over the results of these studies, and then decide at that point how to move forward.
Okay. Now, personally, I believe that based on the Mother's Day game, 7 with the Celtics alone, that, you know, no, until you get a better team on the floor, no. But that's just me. My
We got to
last
get past the second round. We have to get at least past the second round.
hello. And my last question for you is that, as you know, Darrell Clark is retiring, so he's not going to be council president anymore. But, you know, that means somebody else is going to be the new council president. And, you know, folks are probably trying to figure out whether or not they're going to run. We're hearing that you might be one of the people that is looking to do that job.
I am
Interested in it?
I'm
And
very interested. Yes, I'm very interested. I think that the excitement of a new administration and new council leadership coming into the new year is something that really brings a lot of opportunity. And I would love to be part of that leadership and to make that happen. I do believe that I could work with all parties on council. You know, we have a very diverse council, people from different areas of the city, different socioeconomic backgrounds, and also different ideologies. And I think I would be able to work with all those folks in order to build a compromised approach, working with the new administration to really set forth a great agenda in the next upcoming years. So I see this as an opportunity, and I threw my hat into the ring and looking for support. But saying that, you know, I think, you know, whoever is next to lead council will work well with the new administration, and understanding that we as council always have to come together and get 9 votes to support any legislation that we want passed. So we will be able to take that step moving forward. But I would love to be the one to lead us, you know, especially in this historic time where we have our first female mayor, right? First woman ever to lead the city of Philadelphia, which to me is a mark of history. And then, you know, we also have the first open LGBT person on council. So to me, this is exciting times, and it gives us great opportunity with 2026 coming in Philadelphia. We have the World Cup here coming from people from all over the world. We have our 250th anniversary of our country, where it was started right here in Philadelphia. So we have a great opportunity to make that sort of our platform so that we could be our launch pad. So in 2026, we could build up to there, but that shouldn't be our peak. That should be a place where now we start to launch our success as a city, and really the people who come visit it go back and tell others how great it was and what a great opportunity to come to see Philadelphia, and really grow our tax base so that we could help with services that are needed for our residents here in the city of Philadelphia.
okay, thank you for joining us. And I'll be giving you back to my co-host Larry McGlynn, and you're listening to Hall Monitor on WPPM 106.5.
Thank you. And Councilman, thank you so much for joining us. There's a lot of potential and a lot of stuff to look forward to. So we're really glad you got to talk to you about it.
Well, thank you guys so much. Thank you for having me, and keep up the great work and get the voice and the message out to all the people so they can see what's going on in council.
All right. Thank you so much, Councilman.
Take care. Have a great day.